In this video, I show you how to install an Ubuntu virtual machine in VirtualBox.
If this video helps you, please remember to like, subscribe, click the bell notification and leave a comment down below. Welcome, my name is Joe. Now let's get straight into installing Ubuntu virtual machine in VirtualBox. First of all, we're going to need to download an ISO image file of Ubuntu, so let's go to Google and type in Ubuntu download. Now there's a few different versions of Ubuntu. You've got the desktop version and the server version, so just be careful of which one you're installing. In this video we're going to install the desktop version, and if you have trouble locating to this page, then I will leave a link in the description below. Now there's a few different versions of Ubuntu. You can go for the long-term support, which is LTS, or you can go for the beta version, which is slightly newer. It's got some new features, but it's not under long-term support, so it will go out of support fairly quickly. In this video, we're going to download and install the 1804.3 LTS. That's because it's got long-term support and it's a safer option for anybody that isn't completely aware of what to do. So find 1804.3 and click on download. The download will start, and if it doesn't, you can click on the little button just here. Once the file is downloaded, go to your virtual machine manager, and this time we want to click on new and label the virtual machine and select the folder if you need to change that, and then type Linux and Ubuntu 64-bit. Next. Now this section depends on how much RAM you have in your computer. I'd recommend upping this to at least 2 GB, but if you can't afford that, then that's not a problem. That's 2 GB of RAM, and I'm going to click next. So here you can attach an existing hard drive or create a new one, or not attach one at all. In this case, we want to create a virtual hard disk now. This is the middle option. Click create. And then you've got the three options. We want to select the VDI. Now this option is up to you. I'd recommend to dynamically allocate the storage. And click next. Now you've got two things here. It's going to confirm the location of the save VDI file. This is the equivalent of your storage location. And then just below you've got how much space you want to allocate to that storage location. So in this case it'll be 10 GB. And click create. Now the Ubuntu virtual machine has been created, but it has not been installed. So click on the settings here. Go over to storage. On the empty EDI controller, select that, and then come over here to the little disk, and then select choose optical file. Navigate to where it's located, and then click open. Now you should see it sitting in here. Click on OK, and now you can start the virtual machine. So once it's loaded, you'll see this screen, and you can just try it from the CD, or you can install it properly. We're going to install it properly. So here you get to select your keyboard layout. I'm actually in the UK, so I'm going to click UK, and then these options over here change, so you can then select the one you want. This one for me. You'll obviously select the preferences for yourself here. Then click continue. Now you've got a few options here. The first one is between normal or minimal installation. Now for most people I'd recommend normal installation, so you get your web browser, all the utilities, software office, the office software even, a few games and the media players. Now if you don't want that, you can select minimal and just get the very bare bones basics of Ubuntu. Now I suggest you keep this selected, but you can turn this off as well. It's basically going to install all of the latest updates that haven't been packaged onto the ISO file. And then I would leave this blank for now, unless you know that you need it at all, but we can always come back to this later. Click continue. Now this page is basically asking you to confirm that you want to install Ubuntu. It looks a little bit daunting. Here it says warning, it's going to delete all your programs, documents, files, and music and photos and everything. Don't worry too much about this. Basically, it's only going to overwrite the VDI file that you've already created, which is brand new. So there's nothing really to worry about. If you want to check that, then you can come down and select something else. click continue, and what you're going to see here is this kind of thing here, and down here it says it's got 10.7 gigabytes, and if you remember, we allocated 10 gigabytes to the file, so unless your hard drive is a total of 10 gigabytes, this is just the empty file that we've got selected here. You can click back, and then you've got erase disk and install Ubuntu. You've also got the added option of encryption, and also LVM, which basically allows you to shrink or add partitions to the hard drive later on. Unless you know that you're going to need this, I would leave it unticked. And the encryption, again, is up to you. I personally am not going to encrypt it, but you may want to depending on your security settings. I'm going to click install now, and it comes up with one last confirmation, and we want to click continue. Select your location. I'm actually just outside of London, but that will do. And now your name and preferences. When you've got all ticks here, then click continue. And now it's going to finish the installation and copy the remaining files. And once the installation has completed, it will ask you to restart. As it restarts, what you actually want to do is close down and power off the machine, and then come up to here onto settings, onto storage, make sure this has been removed, so it says empty here, and then start the machine again. Once it's loaded, you can click on your name and enter your password to sign in. Once it's loaded, you get the pop-up there. You can click next and next, and you can choose your options here. I'm going to leave it as default and click next, and then done. And this is the desktop that you would expect to see for Ubuntu. Now, if you maximize, if you've seen my previous video, then you realize that this is quite a common issue. To make this expand to the whole width of the screen, what you need to do is come up to devices, go to insert guest editions CD. Once it's mounted and ready to run, you can click on run. It should pop up, so if it doesn't come up with this pop-up, then just double click onto it and you can click run. It's going to ask you for authentication, so to type in your password and click authenticate. Now this is installing the guest editions installer. You may have seen just on the previous screen before I clicked authenticate that there was another pop-up. That's just because there's some more updates to be done, so we'll sort them out in a minute. There we go, so it's just refreshed and now we've got a full screen rather than that tiny box in the middle. And Ubuntu has found updated software and says, do you want to download it? So I'm going to click install now just to get all of that out of the way. And if you look just down here, it shows you the software updater doing its thing. You can click onto it to have a look at the download and progress. And once it's completed, it's going to ask you to restart, and then everything should be finished. So just to check that everything has updated correctly, come over to the little drop down arrow and then click on the settings option. On settings, go down to the bottom at details, and then over on the right hand panel, click check for updates. And you should see your software is up to date, which means everything's completed and we're ready to start using. You can right click on this and click eject. That was your guest editions image CD. You don't need that inserted anymore. So now you're ready to go for whatever you want to use Ubuntu for. I hope you've been able to follow along. Please remember to like, subscribe and leave a comment. Thanks very much for your time, and I'll see you in the next video.